Right, good morning. Today are going to talk about converting radians to degrees. So go ahead and get my notes out. You should have your notes out too. And we are going to title this, we'll just title it Chapter 9. We don't quite have sections for this chapter, and we'll just say converting radians to degrees. So just a reminder that radians and degrees are just two different units of measurement, but you can measure the same thing. Just like saying that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, they're equal in length, they're equal in distance, they're equal in measurement, but they're different units of length. 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. That is the same thing as radians and degrees. They're just different ways to measure the same thing. So if we were talking about our unit circle, and we had a circle like this, a beautiful, perfect circle. Okay, so it's a unit circle, so it's on the X and Y axis. If we were talking in radians, so first let's talk about radians. How much is a complete circle? Well, we say if we start here at point A and we go around the whole circle, we said that was 2 pi radians. Again, to remember that the circumference of a circle is equal, which again is the perimeter, so the distance of the length of the outside of the circle is going to be equal to 2 times pi times the radius. And in our unit circle, our radius is always 1. So our unit circle becomes 2 pi. 2 times pi times 1. So 2 pi to go all the way around the unit circle if we were doing radians. If we were doing degrees, how many degrees are in a circle? Well, we say 360 degrees are in a circle. Right? If you were to jump off your snowboard, you're facing this way, you jumped off your snowboard, and you did a complete circle, you'd say, oh, I did a 360. If you want to get super cool next time, jump off your snowboard and say, I did a 2 pi, right? If you did a complete circle. Now let's talk about how these are related. We both measure the complete circle. If I said radians, you'd say it's 2 pi. If I said it's degrees, it's 360. Just like if I were to measure something, you could say, in inches, it's 12, and in feet, it's 1. Same thing, just two different ways of measuring a length. So let's see, what if I were to go halfway around the circle? Well, if I were to jump off my snowboard and do half a circle, you'd call that a 180. What would that be in radians? Well, the circumference is 2 pi r, so the circumference is 2 pi, and if I did half of that, then I've only done 1 pi. So 1 pi is equal to 180 degrees. Well, what if I did right here? What if I only did half a pi? What if I did pi over 2? Well, you should know, that's a right angle, and that would be 90 degrees. Another way to look at that is there are 4 90-degree segments of that 360 circle. So if you were to take 360 and cut it into fourths, you'd get 90 degrees each. So there you get 90 degrees, 4 pi over 2. What about down here? We said that's 3 pi over 2. What is that in degrees? It's 3 halves. 3 halves of the pi. And how many 90 degrees is that? 3 90 degrees, and 3 times 90 is 270. So if we were to go, jump off our snowboard and then we landed facing that way, we did a 270. What if we were to jump off our snowboard and we went halfway between here and here? Well, in degrees, if we were to go halfway between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, we'd say that's 45 degrees. What would that be considered in radians? Well, it's that part between 0 radians and half a pi. And so half a pi is pi over 4. So on and so forth. Now let's figure out, what is this relationship between radians and degrees? Probably the easiest way to see this relationship, I'm going to circle this one, is that every pi is equal to 180 degrees. So every pi in radians is equal to 180 degrees. So if we were to double this and go from pi to 2 pi, we'd have to double this. If we were to half this and go from pi to half pi, we'd have to half this. If we were to take 1/4 of pi and get pi over 4, we'd have to take 1/4 of 180 degrees and get 45 degrees. So we know that pi is equal to 180 degrees. Now let's talk about how we can convert between different radian lengths and different degrees into radians. Let's do some example problems. Let's say examples. And we'll say convert. We'll do radians to degrees first. Let's do one. Let's say it gives you -8 pi over 3 in radians. Sometimes they put an R to let you know it's radians. Like we could put an R here and an R here, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they don't. So what could we do? Well, let's take a look back at this. If we know that pi is equal to 180 degrees, what do we know? What else do we know? Well, I could divide both sides by pi and get what? Pi divided by pi would be 1 equals, and I could say 180 degrees over pi. What else could I do? I could divide both sides by 180 degrees, right? And get pi over 180 degrees also equals 1, which makes sense because they equal each other. So if they equal each other, 1 divided by the other, doesn't matter which way, will always be 1 if they're equal to each other. So one thing I can do is I can always multiply any fraction by 1. And I can kind of fancy up my 1 to get what I want. And if I want to convert the radians into degrees, I would want to multiply this by something to get me degrees. What do I want to do? Well, I want to cancel out the radian, which means I want to cancel out that pi. How do I get rid of that pi? Well, I divide by pi. So how can I divide by pi while multiplying by 1? Right here. If I multiply it by 180 degrees over pi, you can put that little r there, pi radians, what do you get? Well, you would get negative, and then you do 8 times 180. Do that in your calculator, you can do it in your head. 8 times 180, I get 1440. So I'm going to get negative 1440, and I have a degrees, and I have a pi radians, like that. So that's what I have on top. What do I have on bottom? Well, I have 3 times pi radians. So I have 3 pi radians. Okay. Well, can I cancel anything out? Well, so far I can cancel out the pi radians. And I'm left with negative 140 degrees divided by 3. Let's see, can I divide that by 3? I can't. So I'm going to end up with negative 480 degrees. Now I'm going to kind of switch over my screen here so you can see my unit circle and see if this makes sense, that negative pi over 3 is equal to negative 480 degrees. So you're looking over here. If I were to just do negative 8 pi over 3, where would that be on my unit circle? Well, let's see, negative 3 pi over 3 would be here, which is negative 1. Negative 6 pi over 3 would be here, negative 2 pi. Negative 7 pi over 3, negative 8 pi over 3 would be right here. And that would be right here at this coordinate, negative 1/2, comma negative rad 3 over 2. So again, that was when I went radians, negative 8 pi over 3. All right, now let's say I went negative 480 degrees. Let's see if I land in that same spot. So I do negative 180 would get me here. Negative 360 would get me here. And to go from negative 360 to negative 480, I need to go another 120 degrees. Let's see, there's another 90, and there's another 30. So I'm at negative 480, and look, I'm at the same spot. So our conversion works. Go back to our notes. Let's try another one. We could do a more simple one. Let's say we did 6 pi, and we wanted to convert that into degrees. This one should be a little bit more simple. Let's see. So again, I want the pi to be on the bottom, so I'm deciding which one I'm going to use. I'm going to use this one because the pi is on the bottom, and I want to cancel out the pi. And again, I'm multiplying by 1 because 180 degrees over pi is equal to 1. 180 degrees over pi, so again, I just multiplied by a fancy 1, equals, well, I'd have 6, or write it like this, 6 times 180 degrees times pi on top, and on the bottom, I would have pi. That's it. What cancels out? That cancels out, and I'm left with 6 times 180 degrees. If I did that in my calculator, I'd get 1,080 degrees. Let's see, does that make sense? Well, I know 6 pi would be going around the circle 3 times, because 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi. Is 1080 going around the circle 3 times? If I were to jump off my snowboard and do, 3 times, and do 3 circles, how many would I get? What's 360 times 3? 1080. Perfect. So that works. Let's try another one. Let's try 14 pi over 3. Again, which one am I going to do? I'm going to do this one because I'm multiplying by 1. But I'm putting my pi on the bottom so that they'll cancel each other out. So this one we're going to have to do a little bit more simplifying. Let's see. So I'm left with 14 pi times 180 divided by 3 over pi. So I'm left with 14 times, let's see, 180 degrees times pi, just rearranging the order. You can write this in any order you want. And on the bottom, I have 3 times pi. All right, well, what cancels out here? The pi's cancel out. And is 14 divisible by 3? It's not. What about 180? Well, 180 is going to be the same thing as 60 divided by 3, or sorry, 60 times 3. So I could rewrite this like this. 14 times 3 times 60 degrees on the top, and then have a 3 on the bottom. And then these 3's can cancel out. Do you see how 3 times 60 is the same as 180? You might be able just to cancel this out and write 60 on top. You might see right away that 180 divided by 3 is 60. If not, you can rewrite it like that. It's easier for you to see. And then do 14 times 60, and I'm left with 840 degrees. All right, now let's try the other one. We're going to go backwards. We're going to convert degrees into radians. Let's start with this simple one that we should know. We have 90 degrees. We should know what that is in radians based on our unit circle. 90 degrees is going to be right here. And we also know in our unit circle that half of pi, it's pi over 2. Let's see if that's what we get. So if I'm trying to convert to radians, I'm going to multiply by 1, but I want the degrees on the bottom because I want the degrees to cancel out and to be left with radians on top. So this time I'm going to multiply by this one, pi over 180 degrees. And let's see, I'll get 90 degrees times pi over 180 degrees. Let's see, if I'm trying to reduce this, another way to write 180 degrees is going to be 90 degrees times 2. And what cancels out? Those 90 degrees. And left with pi over 2, which is what I know. I know that 90 degrees on the unit circle is the same as pi over 2. Let's try another one. Let's try 310 degrees. All right, let's see, where would that be on my unit circle? Or in radians, I need to multiply by 1 to get to radians, but I need to cancel out the degrees. So I want the degrees on bottom. So times pi over 180 degrees. I'm going to get 310 pi over 180. Over 180 degrees. All right, now I'm starting to think, is there anything I can do to reduce this? Well, there's not much, but I can reduce these both by 10, right? I could take out a 10. I could make this 10 degrees times 31 times pi all over 10 degrees times 18. And then cancel those out, and I'm left with 31 pi over 18. And 31 is a prime number, so I know that's it. I'm done for that problem. All right, let's try another one. Let's try negative 800 degrees. So again, which one am I going to do? I'm going to do this one because the degree is on the bottom and I want them to cancel out. So I'm going to multiply it by pi over 180 degrees. And I'm left with negative 800 degrees times pi over 180 degrees. All right, let's think. How can I simplify this? Well, right away, I know I could take out a 10, right? I could make this 10 degrees times 80. And then I would have 18, I would have 80 on top and 18 on the bottom. Is there anything else I can do to divide them? Well, 18 I can divide by 3 or 6 or 9. Is 800 divisible by 8 or by 3, 6, or 9? Let's see. 800 divided by 3. 800 divided by 9. No. What about divided by 2? 800. Oh, sorry. I'm left with 80. 80 divided by. Okay, I'm going to start over because I'm being confusing. So let's just start with this. So I took out 10 degrees. What's left? I have negative 80 and pi, because 10 degrees times negative 80 would be negative 800. And down here, I'm going to pull out 10 degrees. And what do I have? I have 18 left. So those cancel out. And I'm trying to see if I can cancel anything else out. So 18 is divisible by 3, 6, 2, and 9. So I'm trying to see if 80 is divisible by 3, 6, 2, or 9. So is 80 divisible by 3? No. Is 80 divisible by 6? No. Is 80 divisible by 9? No. Is 80 divisible by 2? It is 40. So I can rewrite this as 2 times negative 40 times pi over, and I said 18 is the same thing as 2 times 9. Then you can cancel out your 2's, and you'll be left with negative 40 pi over 9. All right, well, that should help you figuring out how to convert angles to degrees.